You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve,
and Sid.
hello everybody and welcome to Trophy Horse Take 2. This is episode 412. I'm your host Tricky Mick. Alongside me, the man, the myth, the legend, he's Alex.
Here again after unfortunately missing the last episode, which I'm sure provided some spirited debate in my absence.
And you did not listen, did you?
No, I don't. Usually I'm on the show or I edit the show, so I'm not really in the habit of listening to shows.
I stood up for you.
Yeah, but Kalai came on the show to show how you were wrong.
Okay, so first of all, Homer Gets Duff doesn't think I'm wrong, and thank you for sticking up for me, Yield. My point was,
you're welcome.
And I'll just make this real quick. From what I've read about what Kalai said, she is someone who plays on consoles and PCs, so when they talk about consoles compared to PC specs, she cares because she would like to know, hey, how is this compared to something I've been playing? I'm from the console world, and I don't care about PC gaming, so I'm like, tell me how it compares to other game consoles. I don't care how it compares to PCs. It's like another world to me. So we're coming from two different perspectives, two different preferences. I don't really think I'm wrong, and, it's just a matter of difference of opinion. Like, it comes down to how do you want to market the system. She believes it should be marketed differently than I should. Does that mean she's wrong or I'm wrong?
Yes.
Why is that? Why does having an opinion on how it should be marketed wrong, one way or the other?
I'm just being a smart ass.
But, do you see the point that I'm making there?
I see the point you're making, but I think you lost the spirit of the conversation, because what I was trying to point out last week, and which I don't think you really give a shit in the grand scheme of things about compared to what you just said, but that whole conversation was solely to show you how powerful the system was, not necessarily to compare it to a PC. It was to say, hey, listen, this is how powerful the system is. And as we said it on many shows before, not just last week's show, us as console gamers, we really don't give a shit about the specs. We just want to know that we can put our game in and we can play it.
Yeah.
Well, we care to a degree. We want to know, what the hardware can do, but now it's become more about games and less about hardware, and it's more about how does this compare to a previous PlayStation, or how does it compare to a previous Xbox? And to be honest, I don't even think at this point Nintendo's in the conversation anymore, because I bought this generation I bought a Switch and a PlayStation 4, but I don't really care how the next PlayStation is going to compare to even the Switch or the next Nintendo console, because Nintendo's kind of its own thing at this point. How does it compare to the PlayStation or the Xbox? Those two are more closely related than any of the other gaming consoles.
I agree. All right, for our other introduction, he brings the awesome every week. It's I Yield to No One.
I forgot what I was going to say. Even though my Bengals are cruising to the number one draft pick, I, on the other hand, am cruising to a first-round win in the Bucknuts Fantasy Football League. I am the number 6 seed, and I am crushing the number 3 seed by 100 points as we sit right now at 7:30 Sunday night.
Something I said on the, while we were waiting for Alex to come back after my audio gap the first time. Listeners, in case you hear it, the goal horn is back. It went off twice.
The goal horn is back!
It went off twice while we were not recording. So if it does go off, just be aware that Yield's probably going to yell something and you'll hear a very loud horn. Second of all, I was saying to Yield, sometimes the New York Rangers, they look like a Stanley Cup caliber team, and then other days they look like the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm okay with that because they suck. Oh, man, I grew up in the 90s, man. I'm used to them sucking. This is nothing new. All these Bengal fans that got spoiled when we made it to the playoffs 5 years in a row, they're not used to this. Me, I'm used to this.
And see, New York just kind of screws up your plans because the Jets kind of screwed up your perfect winless season.
Jets. See, we're not as bad as the Browns were a few years ago. We won a game.
You know what Jets stands for, right?
No, what?
Just end the season.
There you go.
All right, let's get into our show. Updated trophy count. I am level 54, gained a level. Total trophies of 12,718. With a plat count of 229, I got a new platinum.
Ooh.
Alex?
Yes, sir. I know that at this point I'm supposed to be reading my trophies off, but currently I seem to be missing the numbers for the correspond to my achievements on the PlayStation Network.
You are level 31, total trophies of 6,924 with 102 platinums. Yield?
In 101 games.
Oh, God. We're such shit again.
That's very important. You have to say that. Okay, is it my turn?
Yes, it is your turn, sir.
Okay. I am a level 44 with a trophy count of 9914 and a platinum count of 180.
Say what?
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. That was Daryl's trophy count.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
20. I'm a level 28
You son of
with
a
trophy
bitch.
count of 5905 and a plat count of 92.
May the king reign supreme for yet another episode of Trophy Whores.
I
You're
gotta
welcome.
tell you.
You're welcome, Daryl.
I gotta tell you, I was, because we got some listener questions later in the show. I was going to, rain down on Daryl and make sure that his count did not get into the show. But that was so spirited and fooled me so well that I'm gonna have to leave that one in.
Oh, that was good.
I was like, you didn't get me until you said 180 platinums. I went, what?
Oh, I synced them all at one time, Tricky.
Hey, Tricky, you know why you only noticed once the platinums came up? It's because platinums are what matter most, and not the number of trophies you've amassed.
Oh, so the fact that I have 129 or 27, 127 more than you, that doesn't matter anymore.
You're missing my point. My point was, for the longest time, you were like, "Oh, but I've got the most trophies, blah blah blah." But now you're singing the other tune. You're a bird who's singing another song, and that's that. Oh, platinums matter most, and I have all these platinums in Japanese graphic novels, so that's the best.
No.
That I've played five times.
The argument was always you were arguing that the platinums count the most, and I never dismissed the fact that platinums counted, but you were dismissing the fact that level and trophy count counted. Now, to shut you all up, I'm now the leader in all three categories, so you guys can't say, well, this matters.
Well,
now, I'm the king of all the categories. Now you have nothing to
well, guess
brag
what?
about.
We're still bragging and we're still talking, so obviously your plan was thwarted by Yield and I and Daryl.
Ha ha!
Now, I have a question for you guys. Because
I
it's
have
not,
an answer.
there was an article that I saw that I didn't put in the agenda because I tried to make this all, PlayStation 5 show, because this is the first time that we've been back together ever since we said we were going to talk about the PlayStation 5.
Okay.
I saw an article, I didn't read it, but there is a hard rumor that they are remaking Vanquish and Bayonetta. They're doing remasters for the PlayStation 4. Our agreement that if I get the platinum in Vanquish, you guys would shut the hell up and not give me any more shit about
Wait,
my
hold on.
trophy.
Is the trophy list the same? Because at that time we were referencing the PlayStation 3 trophies, so if they take out the tactical challenges or some nonsense like that, no, it doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Well, no, that's why you have to let me finish my question. If the trophy list is exactly the same, and I platinum it on the PS4, does our bet and agreement still stand? The list has to be exactly the same.
Yes, if it's the same trophies list, then yes.
I'll still give you shit that you didn't get the PS3 version.
Well, unless they do some shit like, oh, the tactical challenges are watered down now or something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm just going on the basis that the game is exactly the same trophy list. It's on the PS4 instead of on the PS3.
Okay, yes. I mean, if it were still just as challenging, and yes, it had the same trophy list, then yes, we would give you credit for that. But if it's like, the tactical challenge is like, oh, well, now they're a walk in the park, then no, I won't recognize that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so let's get into what we're playing. I'm going to go first and say that I have officially finished off Death Stranding. I now know the story. I fully understand the story, and it's still confusing as hell. I've also been playing Lego The Incredibles. I'm trying to bring up my list right now.
So hold on, wait. Does your
I've
opinion
also-
of that has your opinion of that game changed, either for the better or for
Stranded?
worse since you've played it? Because I believe it was Matt Murray who was talking about how he thought it, like, at first he was very skeptical of it, but he ended up loving the game and thinking it was the best, like, a really great game. I don't want to, like, try to paraphrase his words. I remember the post that he wrote, and he was very positive on it after he played through it. If I believe it was Matt. But how do you feel about the game now? I mean, you said you kind of still don't get the story. Is it, like, do you think
Well,
it's a great game, or do you, like, how do you feel about it?
All right, the gameplay definitely could be improved. That's never. I'm never gonna wave on that. The gameplay definitely could be better. As far as the story totally makes sense. And like a typical Hideo Kojima game, once you get to the end, the pieces all kind of fit together and they make sense. And I wish I could tell you how, but that's a major spoiler of the game. But yeah, I love the game. But going back, because you were in part of the Game of the Year discussions last week, do I still think it'd be Game of the Year? I think more highly of it compared to what I thought last week, but I still don't think it's Game of the Year. I still don't think it's going to win Game of the Year.
Well, not even as a Game of the Year. Do you think it's just a really good game that lives up to the Kojima branding? Like,
yes, it's a must-play. If you're a Kojima fan, it is a must-play.
so it's like, but even if you say, like, you really enjoyed the style of game that was in Metal Gear Solid,
You'll love this
Okay.
game. Yes. The other game I've been playing was Aladdin and the Lion King. The remasters for that. The platinum I got was in Gravity Duck. And I also tried the PlayStation Plus game, the Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game. That game is booty. Don't even download it.
Really?
Yeah, it's bad.
Really?
Yes.
'Cause
Why,
I
you
put-
liked it?
No, I put it in my download list. I'm like, I'll try a dirt bike race.
Well, that was the same thing, but okay. You know what? Let me not say it's booty because I had a very hard time controlling it. It like, just to give you an example, there was one time I was doing a jump and my back pedal ran across the head of another rider, and we both landed perfectly. Then I do just a normal jump, land just a little bit hairy, and my body goes flying like 50 feet.
So what you're saying is the landing mechanics is a little off.
The physics are definitely off. Whenever you're making a turn, it's just you're gonna slide off the track, or if you try to hit the brake and you know to compensate, you're gonna make too sharp of a turn, and you're always gonna run out of the barriers. If you're out of the barrier for more than 3 seconds, it automatically resets you back onto the track. It doesn't give you a chance to self-correct yourself. To me, it controlled horribly. There's no automatic transmission, so you constantly have to shift. But then when you try to shift, it doesn't always shift. It took me, I'd say, about 6 minutes just in the first loading screen. And then there's a loading screen every race, every time you move a menu. It's a barely put together game. I can tell you why you got it for free for Plus.
Ah.
And that's all I've been playing. Yield, what about you, sir?
So I've been playing, as a shock to everybody, I've been playing some World of Warships.
get out of here! What is this
I-
world coming to?
I know.
Cats and dogs
I know.
living together, mass hysteria,
I've been playing-
Ghostbusters.
Played some Bombfest. Played some Jedi Fallen Order. And I have played some Crash Team Racing.
Ooh, that's a new one, isn't it?
Oh,
That yes,
I have a bone to pick with you, Yield.
my brother brought it over yesterday. We sat down and we played it, and
Thoughts?
I'm a Mario Kart guy.
I still have a bone to pick with you, Yield.
Okay, you can pick your bone.
Oh, I can pick it now?
Yeah, you can pick it now. That's it.
Well, hold on. Before you pick that, Yield, why? What did you like about Mario Kart that you didn't like about Crash Team Racing, or what do you prefer in Mario Kart that's not in Crash Team Racing?
I'm competitive.
I would say that Crash Team Racing is more competitive than Mario Kart.
Well, I have problems with the drifting, and that was only because I couldn't get it down.
Well, that just takes time because the drifting, at first I would only drift around curves. I wasn't comfortable drifting in straightaways, but over time that's something that comes to you. So maybe if you played it more.
Well, yeah, that's why I figured. I figured if I played it more, I would get it.
For each Grand Prix, the people earning Nitro every month, there's been 6 months of Grand Prix now, or there's been 6 Grand Prix. There's still, at the end of the month, over 600,000 people on the PlayStation Network alone, not counting Switch and Xbox, on the Nitro leaderboards. So there's a pretty big online community for the game still.
I enjoyed playing it, but the thing that I really noticed was if you don't boost, you're going to get left in the dust.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you're right about that. So you have to... Boosting is a must.
Which I found a little disheartening was that if you didn't power slide around the corners to get your boost, you're going to get left in the dust. So that was a little disheartening, was that you couldn't really... If you can't get down the boost, the power sliding for the boost, then you're not going to be competitive. So I really wasn't competitive. I was always finishing 5th to 7th. But also I figured if I played it more, then I probably would get better at it. So my initial 3-hour response or 2-hour response to playing it is, I'm a Mario Kart guy.
But when's the last Mario Kart game you played?
Double Dash. Well, no, I take that back. I did play some of 8 on the 3DS. Or Mario Kart 3DS, which was the same as 8, I think.
Okay, well, Tricky, what's the bone you have to pick with Yield?
Yield tried to set me up with Jedi Fallen Order.
What do you mean?
You did not warn me, sir.
That giant spider scared the piss out of you, didn't it?
No, actually it didn't, because good friend of the show, Mr. Steven Fontana, sent me a message on Messenger. Goes, hey, are you playing Jedi Fallen Order? I said, I started it. I haven't really gotten past it. He goes, yeah, you might want to stop playing.
Aw, see? Steven's a tool. This is why he ain't on the show anymore.
He goes, it says, hey, are you playing Jedi? I said, I started. He goes, okay, let somebody else do Kashyyyk, the Wookiee planet. I said, spiders? He goes, giant. I said, yeah, I saw it in the trailer. He goes, okay. I said, how many is it a boss fight? He goes, no, it jumps you in about 5 minutes in. A giant one. Not a boss, but a tough fight. Don't know if there are any more. And then 10 minutes later, he goes, there's more. I said, giant? He goes, yeah, elephant-sized. You son of a bitch, you tried to set me up.
Well, I didn't set you up. I just wasn't going to tell you. I wasn't going to tell you about it.
You tried to set me up, you son of a bitch.
Well, that's what friends are for.
Not like that.
Oh, yeah. Alex, would that not have been hilarious if he walked into that?
I mean, it would have been hilarious for us, not necessarily for him.
Exactly.
Also,
no, not for him.
Steven, I really didn't think you said Steven at first. I thought you said Seaman Fontana.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
He just called you to warn you of a spider or message you to warn you about spiders, and you just knocked him there. What are you doing? Are you trying to lose all your allies?
Well, I don't know if I call him an ally anymore. He's a sumbitch too.
So what have we learned from this, kids? Don't help Tricky because he's just gonna talk mess about you anyway.
No, you know what it is. I've had a real shitty week. I gotta tell you, it's a lot of people are pissing me off. A lot of people are just being ignorant. And,
that's ignorant, man. Ignorant.
It just, I just don't understand people sometimes. I really don't. Steven's a good guy. Yield's is still some bitch. But we're moving on. Hold on, I'm getting interrupted by The Sweet
This
Mama
just
D.
in. The Patriots got beat this weekend.
Back to the show. Oh, she's gonna take that out of the show.
What? Everyone doesn't need to know that you have a sippy cup?
All
right.
You got a sippy cup. That's amazing.
So let's get into the news. Actually, did we ever did we do Sid's trophy count?
No.
Sid is level 40, total trophies of 9,323 with 170 platinum.
Whew.
Bless you.
Bless me. Thank you.
Quiet on the set!
Can we drop something else, please?
Alright. So, let's get into our topics here. Apparently, Sony has
I guess
the
you don't
PlayStation-
need to know what I've been playing.
Oh, sorry.
Crash Team Racing and Pokemon
rewind.
Shield. That's it. You can go on.
Alex, what have you been
I
playing?
just said that. Did you not hear me what I just said?
He just said that.
I did that so you could take out what I just did and not take out the error, and you could just transition into it.
Did you hear what I said when I said I was playing Crash Team Racing and Pokemon Shield?
All right, let's get into our first topic. So apparently there are PlayStation Awards, and I didn't know this. Did you guys know there were PlayStation Awards?
There are PlayStation awards?
I knew that the PlayStation itself and its games won many awards.
Yeah. Okay, so according to this article from Destructoid, the Sony PlayStation Awards 2019 winners have been revealed. Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Asia held its annual PlayStation Awards ceremony celebrating the highest selling titles of the year, regardless of the year of release, across the Japanese and Asian markets. As per usual, Platinum and Gold Awards were offered to the big sellers, while special awards are handed out for markets such as online-only sales and VR and indie releases. While nothing quite hit the insanity last year, while Capcom's Monster Hunter World went quadruple platinum, there are still plenty of heavy hitters collecting gongs. So apparently this was streamed on Twitch. It was a 3-hour ceremony, and your winners for the PlayStation Awards. Okay, so the Platinum Prize. So there's not just one winner. There's multiple winners. As long as they fill the quota, they get the prize.
Okay.
So, the Platinum Prize. Games that have shipped more than 1 million units in Japan and Asia. Your winners were God of War, Kingdom Hearts 3, Marvel Spider-Man, Nier Automata, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Your gold prizes. Games that have shipped more than 500,000 units in Japan and Asia are Ace Combat 7, Call of Duty Black Ops, Devil May Cry 5, FIFA 19, FIFA 20, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019, Resident Evil 2, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. The PlayStation Network Award, the top 3 best-selling games on the network released between October 1st of last year and September 30th of this year was FIFA 19, Fortnite, and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. VR Awards, games that saw success on the PlayStation VR between the same time period were Ace Combat 7, Astro Bot, and Beat Saber. Your Indie Games and Developer Award, which are games that saw success in PlayStation's indie catalog between the same time period. Hardcore Mecha, Hollow Knight, Human Fall Flat, Overcooked 2, and Unravel 2. And your PlayStation 25th Anniversary Special Awards, games that have been successful in the 25 years the PlayStation's been around, is Battle Arena Toshinden, Dynasty Warriors 3, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, Resident Evil, Ridge Racer, and Yakuza. And the top PlayStation 25th Anniversary Choice Awards, the top 5 titles previously PlayStation Award winners as noted by Japan and Asia: Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of Elusive Age, God of War, Last of Us Remastered, Marvel Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World Iceborne, Nier Automata, and Persona 5.
That's 7.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just pointing that out there. Maybe there's an exchange rate in there, but that's 7.
The top 5 titles previous PlayStation Award winners as voted. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that's 7 games. But...
You're not wrong.
No.
All right.
All right.
So, also announced during the PlayStation Awards, Sony This computer is running slow today. PlayStation was awarded the Guinness World Record for the best selling home console brand. As noted by Guinness, the achievement was awarded in light of the combined sales of the PlayStation hardware totaling 450,190,000 units between the original console's launch in Japan on December 3rd, 1994, and November 7th, 2019. The record includes hardware sales, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, based on figures from VG charts.
Okay, before you continue, this kind of sounds like a made-up award. I mean, it's legit. They got their Guinness Book of World Record photo, but it kind of sounds like a made-up category. I mean, you are counting over 15 years of hardware sales. That's kind of a ridiculous Guinness World Record. I'm just saying.
Well, Guinness has started giving out video game world records.
No, I'm not saying that a video game world record is ridiculous. Like, if they said they got a world record because of most consoles sold in the generation, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But they're doing the whole lifespan of the company. The company is continuing on with the PlayStation 5. It sounds like, we're going to give Sony a Guinness World Record. Well, how can we do this?
I mean, okay.
Well, yeah.
So also, let me inject some dubiousness into this, or some doubt.
Dubiousness.
A Guinness World Record. I would assume that Nintendo, like, I wouldn't be shocked, but I would ask how much did Sony's PlayStation lifetime sales compare to Nintendo's consoles, because I would think Nintendo's outsold them.
The NES and the Wii, yeah. And the 3DS.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you guys right now.
That's a handheld.
Because
Sorry.
we actually did this conversation. We actually had a topic on the show in which they looked at the lifetime sales of consoles, and Sony owned 4 of the 5 top spots, and the only other spot in the top 5 that was not Sony was the Wii.
Yeah, but you also got to think about their handheld consoles, like all the Game Boy iterations and the DSs.
Well, we also covered that too. I don't remember what show we did, but they said that Sony, in all of the categories, even in the top 10, they held top spots. I think the only thing that beat PlayStation in sales, if you want to talk about any kind of video game thing, was the 3DS. The 3DS cracked the top 5, but Sony still had 4 of the top 6 spots. So, I mean, this is believable. So, there you go. Let me see if the article says anything about Nintendo's numbers. No, it doesn't. Alright, so, yeah, there you go. I'm going to skip this next one because I didn't really read this article.
Snippet.
Snipping it.
Snippety snip snip.
Alright, so, this next one, now, understand that most of the stuff we're going to talk about is mostly rumor, speculation. We have no hard facts behind any of this. This article is coming from dailystar.co.uk. It says, PlayStation 5 release date to arrive with new Nintendo Switch style controller. Now, I'm not going to read this article. I basically put this in here for you gentlemen to see the images and ask you 2 questions. One, do you think what is in the picture is likely? And if it is likely, or if we're going to see it, do you think we'll actually see it this generation, or is this just another Vita knockoff? We'll start with you, sir.
Well, I don't know. I can't see the picture because I'm not accepting their terms of services.
Oh, hold on. Let me share my page with you. How do I share my page? Share screen. Here we go. Start sharing. Alright. There you go.
That's not a PlayStation 5 controller. That's clickbait.
Alex?
Those looks like some old school batteries, like from the 90s. Those
Now,
those controllers,
spoke-
like they almost look like an NES controller.
Yeah, that's clickbait, man. They got
Okay.
ya.
well, now that I'm scrolling it down, it shows that there's a gyroscope. It basically looks. I think it's fair to say it looks like an old style NES controller with
Yeah,
a screen in the middle.
yeah. No, that's not a 5 controller, man.
Now,
Wait, hold on. Is
according
that
to
supposed to be the screen in the middle? So that wouldn't be a controller. It'd be like would that be like the system itself inside a controller, or would the controllers be like like satellite or like secondary consoles, like so you could play the games off almost like a PSP?
Okay, I said I wasn't going to read the article, but this little snippet maybe give you a little bit more clarification. It says this new patent, which is applied for by PlayStation's parent company Sony Interactive Entertainment, suggests the PlayStation 5 may have a very exciting new type of controller that can be used away from the main console. So there you go.
There you go. You know what? I'll believe it when it starts getting closer and there's more talk about it, because that looks really rough. That looks like somebody. I don't know. It looks like clickbait, man.
Yeah, I don't like the design of it. And I don't know. I don't really want to play PlayStation games that way. Like I want to play PlayStation games on a TV at home. Yeah, I like the ability to take the Switch anywhere. Well, for the most part in the home. I don't really like to take it out all that much. But I just don't like the way that controller looks, and I don't want to play on a tiny ass screen like that.
All right. I mean,
the
looking
Switch is
at it,
about
if
as small of a screen as I want to play on, to be honest.
looking at it, if this is just a way to, according to the picture, it says watch TV, play a game, check email, view images. If this was a controller that I could take with me that I'm not actually trying to play my PlayStation 5 with, it might intrigue me a little bit, but like I was just said, I don't want to play it on a screen that small. I mean, that's mainly why I don't try to remote play on my iPod Touch. I don't want to play on a screen that small. All right, moving on to our next topic. Talk about controllers. The Sony boss has this has come from Game Rant. Headline: Sony boss talks major improvement PlayStation 5 controller will have over DualShock 4. It basically just boils down to saying that he doesn't call it outright the DualShock 5, which we know will basically is what's going to be called. But he also claims that it's going to have haptic technology that adds a different gameplay feel to gaming, even the titles currently available to play with the PlayStation 4, DualShock 4. For those unaware what haptic feedback really is, the two buzzwords equate to the PlayStation 5 controllers having an HD rumble that gives one-to-one feedback as opposed to the standard vibration experience with the DualShock 4. This was one of the major selling points with the Nintendo Switch when the system was first demoed with games like 1-2 Switch that showcased the ability to feel precise motion simulations. For a title like Gran Turismo Sport, however, the game that Mr. Ryan claims to have tested the controls with, it could mean the difference between a slight rumble when the cars move and the controller pulling the player's hands into a turn. Alex, you have a Switch. What do you think about the haptic feedback?
I mean, hold on. What kind of feedback did he say?
Haptic feedback. Basically, 1-to-1.
I mean, really, to be honest, I don't play a lot of games that use. Hold on, when he gets back, I'll talk to him because I don't really play a lot of games that use that. The only thing I've really used, like, move the console around for, was in Pokemon Let's Go. You had to use you could look around when you had the tab on your hand. You could look around with it, and you could use the gyro on the inside to kind of change your perspective and change the angle you threw balls at. But I don't use a lot of games for that. Tricky, explain to me what you're asking for, because I don't really use the console for all that much, like any kind of like gyros or anything like that.
Well, did you ever play 1-2 Switch?
No, I did not.
Okay, 1-2 Switch. The best way.
Wasn't that the boxing game?
No, it had a whole bunch of mini games. think of it like Mario Party, but it was like all the mini games of Mario Party, but wasn't Mario Party. It was like they had milking a cow, shaving your beard, stupid games, like really simple games that like draw, like Wild West, 1, 2, 3 draw kind of thing. But the best to explain the haptic feedback is there's a mini game inside of 1-2 Switch in which they're saying that there's metal balls inside of one of the Joy-Cons. And you roll the Joy-Con around and you try to guess how many balls are in the Joy-Con. And the haptic feedback is so precise that it could tell you, like, how do I describe this? Okay, picture you have a cardboard box and you have 5 metal balls in the box. You slide the ball to the right, the box to the right, you can feel individually as each ball hits the side of the box. You follow me so far?
Yes.
Yield?
Yes.
Okay. That's how precise the rumble is. Like now, like when you play in a PlayStation 4 game and the ground rumbles, the controller shakes. The haptic feedback could make you feel like the ground started shaking coming left to right, and it's more precise and more realistic. So using the box as an analogy, when you turn that controller, you can actually feel as the balls are hitting the side of the controller, so you can tell there's 1, 2, or how many balls are in the controller. That's basically.
I mean, as far as like that kind of technology goes, and again, we're talking about gyroscopes, right, and accelerometers.
Yeah, but more precise.
So, as far as like the only thing I've ever used it for in a Switch was Pokemon Let's Go. That's the only functionality I've ever experienced with in a game. Really for the Switch, I've had the console out and just playing the tablet itself and not having it on the TV. And it was used in Pokemon Let's Go to where you could use you would basically move the console around the tablet around itself to get a view of the Pokemon and line up your shot. And if you had the console on the TV, there would be in the controllers, you were supposed to throw move your arm like you were throwing the Pokeball, and all of that technology within the controller would basically decide the angle that it went at and basically the direction of the shot. Now, while it seemed, at least using the tablet, it was pretty precise, the controller itself, I could never get the angle down, and I always felt like I had to throw it at an uncomfortable angle in order to get it to hit the Pokemon. So I wasn't a fan. The tablet's fine to use, but the controllers themselves, the Joy-Cons, it's not, at least the one instances I've used them in, it was not, I didn't like it. I didn't think it worked all that well. And maybe it was just because of the implementation within the Pokemon game, and it works well in other games. I didn't think the implementation was that well done. A good idea, poor execution.
All right, and Yield, you really don't have feedback on this because you haven't experienced this, right?
You are correct.
Okay, so we'll just wait and we'll see the technology as it comes. All right, so at this point, we are going to patch in a segment here. PlayStation State of Play is coming out on the morning of December 10th. It's going to air at 6 a.m. in California, 9 a.m. on the East Coast in New York and Kentucky and Ohio where we live, and 2 p.m. in the UK. Now that's happening Tuesday. The guys are going to get together. The three of us are going to get together Wednesday night and patch that part into the show. So that's where you're going to hear right now. All right, guys. I record on location, so if my audio is shittier than the rest of the show, you know why.
You're at State of Play, Tricky?
Yes, I'm at work because I had to deal with this freak snowstorm that produced no snow at all.
You complain
Those
like
are the
you
best
don't
kind.
live in New York and you have dealt with snow for the past 37, 38 years.
Well, no, I've only dealt with snow for the last 13, and then I was in Virginia before that. There's a whole long story.
I always forget that you're
All
from
right, so
Virginia.
let's get it.
You probably want to forget it too.
I was actually born and raised in New York. I'm a New Yorker through and through. All right, let's get on to this, Mr. Don't want to record too late. All right, so we had the State of Play. We're just going to go through it real quick. The first thing we announced was Untitled Goose Game is coming to the PlayStation 4 on December 17th. You guys excited?
I wouldn't say
It looked
excited,
kind-
but I hear it's a funny game to play. Like, it's a fun game to play. So, like, Ashley's talked about wanting to get it because the kids have talked about it. So, I mean, the more it seems that a game like that, the more platforms it's on, the better. And like, if I see someone play it and it's humorous to me, like, even if I don't want to play it myself, like, I'll get laughs from somebody else playing it, or hell, maybe it'll even push me to want to play it.
All right, Yield?
I've heard some people talk about it, maybe, so I saw some post or whatever. It looked kind of funny, but I don't have this burning desire of, ooh, wow, that looks awesome. So.
It's basically be a dick goose, the game.
Yes, basically. All right, the second thing they announced was an RPG-oriented battle royale Spellbreak, which instead of shooting people with guns, you are shooting people with spells.
Far more family friendly.
Yes.
But I know how you guys feel about battle royale, so you guys are probably not interested in this.
I mean,
at
I
all.
don't necessarily
No, not at
dislike
all.
them, but like a lot of games like that, I'll like a certain twist to it. I like multiplayer games, but I'm not big on shooters. Like I like story-driven, like solo adventure, first-person shooters that have like a sci-fi aspect to it or science fantasy aspect to it. Like BioShock. We got the news that a new BioShock is in development, so I'm excited about that. But most shooters in general, I'm not very good in the multiplayer, so I don't have a lot of fun with them. But one that's like casting spells, like I mean, that's somewhat different than most of the games that people have popularized these days. So I mean, yeah, I'd say it's worth a look.
All right. The next thing we have, Dreams is finally coming out of early access and is having a new update leading to its official launch on Valentine's Day 2020.
I played some of the early access at a buddy's house, and it kind of changed my opinion of the game because I played some other games within it that were pretty cool. I'm not saying I'm going to rush out and buy it, but it is intriguing.
I mean, if nothing else, it's a big release that Sony can point to before The Last of Us Part 2, before Ghost of Tsushima. So it's like, hey, we have this game where you can, create many things and basically create your own games. Like, it's coming out next year. They have a hard title, like a hard line on it, and it's, coming out relatively soon considering they're essentially the end of this year. So, although, a lot of their big games seem to come out, like, the big push for this state of play was like, hey, we're still focused on the PlayStation 4. Here are a bunch of games. And they've got 3 big games coming out next year before the release of the 5.
Yeah, they didn't say this during the State of Play, but I also heard that they're actually holding a contest for the best creation so far in the early access. A lot of the community is going to be voting on them, but some of them, the actual Media Molecule team is actually going to vote. And I don't know if there's any prizes associated with it other than maybe bragging rights, but they didn't say price increase, and I know the early access was available for $30, so maybe that's what they're going to release the full game at.
It'd be interesting.
For how much effort they put into that game and the capabilities that you have, like $30 would seem very cheap.
Well, it's also we've been waiting for a long time, and it's not They look at Dreams more as a creative tool than a game itself. So I could see them, releasing it for $30.
Yeah.
The next thing we have is Superliminal. It's a surrealist walking simulator for the PlayStation VR coming out in 2020. Being that the only person on the show that has a VR, I wasn't too impressed with this. But, more PSVR content is always a plus. That also leads us into the next thing they announced is Paper Beast, which is a puzzle solver, also coming to the VR in Q1 2020. Again, I wasn't too impressed, but as we get closer, I'll probably check that out.
That game looks really cool. It's like this fantastical world where the flora and the fauna, like the animals and the plants, are made almost they're made out of paper. That's why it's called paper animals. Like it's almost like origami creatures. So that game looks really cool. Granted, I saw screenshots of it. So, but in concept, it looks awesome.
It looked intriguing.
Yeah, the problem. Go ahead, Yield.
I was gonna say it looked intriguing. I was not like blown away by it, but I was more kind of disappointed that it was a VR game because I was like, I might give that game a look, and then I'm like, oh, it's VR. Darn.
See, the problem with the VR is a lot of the stuff that's coming out are basically glorified tech demos because people are still learning to develop for the VR. Occasionally you get a banger like Moss or Astrobot or Robinson the Journey, but for the most part, a lot of them are just basically glorified tech demos. So it's kind of hit and miss what you get on the VR. Excuse me. The next thing they announced is Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind DLC is releasing in January 2020. So if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you get more DLC coming next month. Now, this is what I wanted to hear your guys' opinions on. We actually got some footage for Predator Hunting Grounds. More updates are coming, and it's slated for release in April of 2020. Now, I know you guys... if I remember correctly, you guys were kind of intrigued with Predator, but back then we only got like a screen grab and a logo. Now that you actually saw gameplay, do you guys any more intrigued with this or any more turned off?
So my first thought when I heard this is like, well, someone's heard about the success and the fanfare for the Friday the 13th game because this is exactly what that was. It's basically a group of people, in this case 4, trying to take down another player who's a super creature. In this case, a predator.
Oh,
like that was my first thought was Friday the 13th.
What was that other game that was like that?
Dead by Daylight?
No. A buddy of mine played it where you were a group of hunters and you were trying to get this, and he was like a gigantic beast.
Monster
and
Hunter?
You were the... No,
I know what he's talking about. I
can't think of it. You could pick like a handful of beasts.
It was basically like it's a 4-on-1 thing.
Is what it was. I can't remember the name of it.
Evolve?
There you go. Yes, that's what it was. That's what this initially reminded me of. It was an Evolve type game where it was 4 against 1. After seeing some of the more of video, I guess you could say, a little bit more intriguing. I still don't like. I'm not a fan of the 4 versus 1 because I suck at stuff like that. But I was a little bit more intrigued to where, if there was a demo, I'd give it a whirl.
See, what I also noticed, I don't know if you guys picked up on it too, this is very similar to Behavior games, which both made Death by Daylight and Death Garden. While you're the predator, you're running around in third person, but if you are the hunters or the military, you are running around in first person. I don't know if you guys picked up on that as well.
No, I totally did not see that.
Playing as one of the hunters, like that would put me on edge the entire time, especially like if you're in that view. Like I'd be kind of sweating bullets and waiting for something, like, because I can handle jump scares okay, but like I can see that being a game where I would get spooked here and there and just kind of be like stressed out the entire match, just waiting for when it was coming. Because there's gonna be some like cool cloaking devices for the predator.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I cover myself in mud to hide myself from the predator?
I don't. They didn't go into detail. We're gonna get more updates coming. Definitely before April 24th, 2020.
I mean, I like the concept. I can't say that it's a game I'm definitely gonna buy, but I do like the concept because there are advantages to being on both sides. Like I imagine being like, yeah, you're on a team, but when you're when you're a hunter, like you're kind of stressed out because there's a super beast coming after you, and when you're the super beast, the predator, you have like it can be really super fun because like you get to you tactically take out every person, and like you can probably take out people in pretty cool ways. And I will say that the predator, like a game like this, as opposed to something like Friday the 13th, I would probably lean more towards the Predator franchise than Friday the 13th. Although I will say that a big reason I never even tried Friday the 13th was because of the grindiness of the trophies. So if they're going to put any grindy aspects in this game, then it's probably going to turn me away too.
All right. The next thing announced was Babylon's Fall. It's a new RPG title from Square Enix coming in 2020.
Oh, wasn't that from Platinum Games?
Yes.
I think I actually, you know what? According to the picture I'm looking at, it says Square Enix, but I think it was a collab between Platinum Games and Square Enix.
Because it was, I mean, I was like,
Yeah, it was
when I
both of
read
them.
about it, it was, you know, from the creators of Bayonetta, which obviously is Platinum Games.
Yeah, I mean, no, Square Enix and Platinum are both working on it. I do remember that from the State of Play. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about Babylon's Fall?
No.
I mean, I'm a fan of Platinum Games' work. I really like the Bayonetta series. I like Vanquish. Of course, we're getting a Bayonetta Vanquish remake, which, you know, we talked about earlier on this show, but Tricky confirmed it after we stopped recording that it was actually going to come out as a dual remaster of the both games coming out for the PS4. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm always willing to give Platinum Games a shot. Like, yeah, there have been misses, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Brawler and Mad World. Like, there were some, I mean, there were good aspects of those games, but, you know, like, Platinum Games has had hits and misses, but they're a studio that no matter whether they hit or whether they miss, I'm always intrigued by what they're doing next.
All right. The next thing announced was Resident Evil Remake is confirmed. The title is coming out April 3rd of next year, and it's also going to have Resident Evil Resistance, a.k.a. Project Resistance, as a game mode.
This seemed to be the biggest
You know,
news to
Resident
come out
Evil is-
of this Sony State of Play, except for the fact that there was no Last of Us Part 2, and they only showed a short trailer for Ghost of Tsushima. Basically the absence or lack of those two games was probably the most surprising aspect, but it seems like a lot of people, like, that's the thing they're reporting most heavily and putting in the headlines is that RE3 is coming back.
Well, yeah, this was leaked ahead of time. I don't know if you guys caught all the news, but the box art was leaked onto the PlayStation Store, so everybody knew it was coming. And then Jeff Keighley noted out that there's going to be 10 new game reveals at the Game Awards, and he said that Resident Evil 3 was not one of the leaks, so none of his was not one of the 10 reveals. So everybody just assumed it was going to be at the State of Play, which it was. I also noted that a lot of people, because I'm not a Resident Evil fan, I mean, maybe Daryl could speak on this more, but a lot of people are saying that the changes to the looks of all the characters are very dramatic, and the fact that they've gotten either a hell of a lot better or a hell of a lot worse. I don't know if you guys ever played Resident Evil 3 and saw the footage, if you can comment on that.
My time with Resident Evil started with Resident Evil 5, and then it ended with Resident Evil. Well, I played some Resident Evil Revelations, and then I played some Resident Evil 6 as well. So really, my experience with the Resident Evil series spanned 3 games. I know from what I've read, Resident Evil 3 was rather controversial. I don't know if it was up to snuff as far as quality goes, as to what people expected from the series. Because, I mean, Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 are revered games. I mean, that's obviously why they have been remade and brought back so many times. And you've got Resident Evil 4, which brought the series back to prominence. Arguably one of the best, games in the series, if not the best game in the series. And I know that 7, Biohazard, the most recent one, did really well too, and it restored a lot of faith that 6 did to destroy in the series. But yeah, I mean, like, Capcom is seems to be, with their remakes and what they're doing with Mega Man and Resident Evil, seem to be hitting on all cylinders. It's probably some of the best stuff they're doing. So why not give Resident Evil 3 a shot? The sales of Resident Evil 2 are better than the sales of the original release, life to date. So, I mean, if you can make money off of Resident Evil 3, which people are willing to buy these remakes we've seen, or these remasters, then go ahead.
3 was Nemesis, right?
Sounds right, yeah. Well, 4 was not Nemesis, so it'd have to be 3.
All right. Yield, you interested in this at all?
No, I'm not a Resident Evil guy.
All right. And as Alex alluded to, after we got the Resident Evil thing, they came back and said, "Oh, we got one more thing," and they showed some footage. It was a very short clip of Ghost of Tsushima, and they said that we're going to be getting more footage at the Game Awards on December 12th.
So disappointed.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this show, tonight is when they'll be showing the Ghost of Tsushima, more footage of that, because I'm assuming, Tricky, you're trying to get this out tomorrow.
Yeah, this show is actually going to come out Thursday. I got to go home and edit this real quick and then put it into the show and then release the show. But obviously we'll talk more about Ghost of Tsushima on Sunday when we record, which will be next week's show. But with that being said, Yield, you just said you're disappointed. Why were you disappointed?
Because it was the initial part of the trailer looked beautiful, and then that was it. Three guys pulling a cart. Sees a samurai in the distance. Little smoke bomb goes off. That's it. See you on the 12th. It's like, that's it? Really? And I thought that after the last state of play, that this one took a step backwards. That we did announce more things than before. Like the last time, I think there might have been like 5 or whatever. There was a lot more things in there, but yet again, there was it. Maybe it's because there was really nothing in my wheelhouse. It was just like, oh, okay, well that's cool. That was kind of my reaction to it.
I feel like they fit a lot into the time that they had to present everything, and it would have been easy for Sony to go out there and show The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, because that's what I was assuming they were going to do. But the fact that they showcased other games and a lot of different games and PSVR games, I think that Sony in recent years has gotten better about showing a wider variety of games that they have instead of just focusing on the big ones. They're going to let Ghost of Tsushima shine at the Game Awards, which I think is a really good idea because people need to see more of that game. Like, I would like to see more of that game. But in this, talking about Dreams and getting hype up for that, and talking about a couple PSVR games like Paper Animals, I think that's all a really good idea. And, just highlighting your third-party relationships, like with Capcom, is always a good idea because that's the thing that Microsoft during the 360 era, they always used to tout their third-party relationships. Well, Sony always had the better first parties, but because Microsoft's third-party support was so strong and better quality than on the PS3, they got a lot of good press for that.
All right, well, just I want to make a correction. You keep calling it Paper Animals. It's actually called Paper Beast.
Paper Beast, okay.
Okay. Now, this game has me worried. I mean, it just seems like we got little bits of footage back and forth, and nothing's really been confirmed. I mean, I'm still anticipating. I want to play it, but it's got me worried. So, hopefully, tonight when you guys watch this, maybe we'll get a better understanding of what the game is. But before we close out this little segment here, gentlemen. Now, this is Sony's 4th or 5th state of play. I can't remember exactly. I think it's their 4th. As we do after we talk about the state of plays, what do you guys think about the state of plays? Do you want to see more of these from Sony, or would you rather they move back to the big press conferences at like E3 and the PSX and Paris Games Week?
I personally like a shorter format, a smaller format. Show me what you want to show me, get in, get out. There's plenty of other shows like the Game Awards to showcase, in big chunks, your big games. But I don't want to sit there for an hour and a half and watch just a Sony press conference when there's also an E3 press conference, and a Nintendo one, and a Microsoft one, and an Ubisoft one, and an EA one, and Activision one. There's so much media to consume over those periods. It's just just show me the important stuff and then get out. Because I don't have time to sit here and devote that much of my screen time to just one company.
All right, Yield?
I'm not opposed to them. I do like the 20-minute segments. Maybe if you got a lot of some big news, maybe you could stretch it a little bit longer. I do like the format. I do like, and I understand the marketing of why you're going after the select games. It's just of these 4 or 5 that have come out, there hasn't been a lot, like I said, in my wheelhouse. So my overwhelming thought of it is kind of, But that's just, like I said, that's just because nothing is of great interest to me. But I totally understand why they're doing it, and in that aspect, I am okay with it. Does that make sense?
If you want to make Yield happy, just throw in a trailer for the Rocket League holiday event, and boom, you're good.
Actually, you said Rocket League, and we'll save it for next week's show, but there's some controversy with Rocket League right now going on. As far as the state of plays, I like the little 20-minute segments, but there's something about the big, grandiose E3 show where they're coming out.
Like, I fully expect Sony to be back at E3 next year, especially since the rumor is they're going to be revealing the PlayStation 5 in a February event. So, if they do that, then you have to expect that they're going to be back on the stage at E3. PSX will probably be back next year. But I like these little 20-minute segments because, like Alex said, get in, get out. But there's something about the grandiose of the stage show where they're coming out and they're bringing the developers out and stuff like that. I like watching a developer be passionate about their game and explain their game to me. You know, kind of like you guys were talking about Untitled Goose Game. Like, you guys have heard things, but there's something about if that developer came out and explained that game to you, or why that duck is so angry, or why that duck is, you know, trying to peck that guy's balls three times before he shoos him away.
It's a goose.
But with all that being said, thank you guys, and continue with the rest of the show.
And we're back. So that was a great state of play.
That was awesome.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Let's not give them too much credit by going ahead and saying that was a great state of play.
Well,
it was thrilling. I'm floored.
Again, you cut me off before I finished. I was going to say that was a great state of play.
Speechless.
Or that was a shitty state of play. All right, so now you.
So it can only be one or the other. It can only be great or shitty. It can't be so-so.
It was so-so.
All right, so obviously, you know, we're joking around here. We don't know whether it was good or bad.
It was ugly.
But some of the things that they planned to talk about, and hopefully we just talked about, they said that we're probably going to see more on, God, I just forgot the name of it. Samurai game.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Thank you. Now, they're saying that they have 20 minutes of gameplay, new game reveals, release date announcements, and more PlayStation Worldwide Studios updates. So, hopefully, we were excited, and we just talked about all that.
So, I mean, could we assume that this is basically going to be a party for The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, and everything else is going to be, like, dedicated to kept to a sizzle reel?
I don't know. I mean, they're talking 20 minutes, so I don't see them going really in depth with any games. Again, this all could be, you know, we could be totally wrong what we're saying right now. I just think it's going to be 20 minutes of just them releasing new titles. Maybe we'll get a release date for Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know. So, all right, since we don't know what we're talking about, and we, you know, I don't want to.
Well, to be fair, we don't often know what we're talking about.
That's true. We're just going to move on. Hopefully, you know, Alex will piece what we record Wednesday into this and makes all sense and everything.
Wait, you're patching it in, though. I'm editing the show proper, and you're patching in the other.
Fair enough. I forgot I was doing that. All right, so maybe I'll make us sound all good. All right, so our last topic before we get on to our topic of the week. Why is this computer running so damn slow today?
Oh, no, you bought a gaming computer. Why is it running so slow?
I don't know. Okay, so the headline reads, PlayStation is no longer interested in making handheld consoles.
Haven't I said this on the show before that they shouldn't make any more handheld consoles?
Okay, but now see that title is a little misleading. All right, this article is coming from IGN. It's written by Chris Priestman. Sony has confirmed that it doesn't consider itself it to be in the business of making handheld gaming consoles anymore. That means we shouldn't expect a follow-up to the PSP or the Vita anytime soon, if ever. President and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Jim Ryan, recently spoke to Game Informer for a feature that looks back at the 25-year history of PlayStation consoles. As part of this, he remembered the PlayStation Vita and confirmed there were no plans for any more PlayStation consoles like it in the future. Quote, PlayStation Vita was brilliant in many ways, and the actual gaming experience was great, but clearly it's a business that we're no longer in now, end quote. His words parallels those of Jack Tretton, former CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment, when he spoke to IGN about the PlayStation Vita back in 2016. Quote, now that I don't work there anymore, I think internally it was, hey, this was a great machine, it's just too late. The world has shifted to portable devices that aren't dedicated gaming machines. So, with that being said, going back to Jim Ryan's quote, he says, "It's a business that we're no longer in now." So I think the headline is a little misleading because they're saying that they're never going to make another handheld when clearly they're just saying right now we're not doing it. So what do you guys think? Like, you both own Vitas. It was a great machine. I guess we could all agree that Sony just didn't support it the way we wish they would have.
I mean,
Well, they did. They did if you're an RPG person.
I think it was especially popular in Japan, and it did find a market here in the U.S. and abroad. But I think for the most part, it was never going to be as popular as the DS, and I think that Sony saw that, and I think partially they decided that, hey, we can't support we can't fight a war on two fronts. Essentially, we can't fight it on the home console front, and then also in the handheld arena. So I think they kind of conceded at some point to the DS and to Nintendo, and yes, to mobile phones as well. And as we've seen, like, it didn't necessarily hurt Nintendo to stay in that market for such a long time, but mobile phones rule, like, handheld gaming these days, and even Nintendo stepped away from that. So I think that in general, like, it's a good move by Sony. Like, whether they come back into it or not, I think that focusing on the home console arena is the best place that they can be. I don't think they need to be near handheld because, again, it's all just mobile these days. Like, you think about how many kids out there have phones. Like, teenagers, young adults have phones. Adults, pretty much all adults have phones if you can afford one. And how many of them play games? All of them play cheap games a lot of times. High quality games at this point too. So, like why would people buy a handheld, like a $200 handheld, from Sony or Nintendo?
All right, not to cut you off, but remember how you yelled goal?
Yeah.
They just literally scored the goal on my feed right now.
See, I'm giving you a heads up.
That was a long freaking delay. Now, well, listeners, I'm watching the game through my phone on Chromecast onto my studio TV. So there's a hell of a delay because that horn went off. Alex never missed a beat in his explanation. Yelled gold. I looked to watch the goal, and 45 seconds later is when they finally scored it.
I mean, I heard it going on, but I didn't let it shake me.
No, I'm talking about yield screaming goal.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
All right. All right, so going all of that, Alex, I agree with you.
What were we talking about?
The PlayStation Vita.
Oh, okay. I'm still in my gold mode.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they would make a Vita too. I wish they would support it. I mean, maybe what we saw on the those little Nintendo-esque NES controllers, maybe that's their version of the Vita too. I don't know. Everything's up in the air, and like we're speculating a lot.
Yeah, but you're also in that sense, like, you're thinking that there is a controller, like almost like a smaller console itself, that will be able to be used with a larger console that docks into the TV, much like you had remote play with the PSP and the PS3, and they never really did a ton with that, or they did not maximize the advantage they had by using those two consoles in concert. So I wouldn't expect that from Sony at this point either.
All right, so let's go on to more speculation into our topic of the week. Now, our topic of the week, the question I'm going to pose to you, gentlemen, is in the topic of the week there are two links. One is a picture of the PlayStation 5 dev kit. That's been widely circulated. I'm sure you guys have seen that picture many times.
Yes.
And then the second link is a 2-minute video, which I hope you guys watched. Basically showing what a fan thinks the PlayStation 5 is going to look like, because obviously it's not going to look like the dev kit. So, the question I have to you, and for the topic of the week, is what do we think about the way the fan-made PlayStation 5 looks? And what do we really want out of the PlayStation 5? Like, what features are you hoping to have? What features are you hoping to keep? What features are you hoping they drop? So, Yield, I don't know if you watched the video yet.
I'm watching it now.
Okay, so as you're watching now, describe what you like, what you don't like, and listeners, I'm going to put this link in the summary, so you guys can watch the video too. You'll tell us what you're seeing and what you think about what you're seeing.
Well, what I've seen so far, about 50 seconds into it, I think I like the design of. I like the design that he is guessing over the dev kit one, because it's not as deep as a V, and the air vents seem to be more on the outside rather than in the middle, where on the dev kits you look like you could still suck the dust from one side to the other. I mean, even though you're blowing it out or whatever. And I like the fact that it looks like you got 4 USB charges instead of just 2. I always like the ability to have more instead of just the 2. So that's what I've seen so far.
All right, Alex, what do you think about what the video shows?
Hold on, I'm still looking at it. You talk for a little bit, Tricky.
All right, so I mean, well, let me ask you this, because just why we give Alex some time to watch it. What do you think about the controller? Like the fan concept is showing that there's kind of like a video screen where the touchpad is on the DualShock 4. What do you think about that?
I'm just seeing that. It's slick. A video screen instead of a touchpad. I said the same thing with the touchpad. I'll say the same thing with this video screen. If it's true, if used correctly, it would be the bee's knees. Alright? There's only been a couple of games I've played where the touchpad was really utilized good. Or I felt it was utilized really well. Other than that, it's basically kind of like a map button or a giant pause button. Is really all that it boils down to for me.
All right, and what some other things I'm noticing here is there are 2 HDMI slots on the back of the console.
I saw that. Is that good for streamers?
Well, that could be one or two things. That could be for streamers, and that could also be similar to what the Xbox One does, where you can plug your cable box into the back of the PlayStation, and then the other one's an in, one's an out, so you can plug something into the console, preferably your cable box, and then the other one's an out, running to your TV, whatnot. The other thing I noticed is on the top right of the console, it seems like there's 2 cameras there.
Yeah, I wondered what that's what that was.
That could possibly be for improvements with PlayStation VR.
Would that be like if VR is implemented already into the console? When you buy the console, you have VR capabilities?
That's the speculation, yeah. Because it was long before we even saw this or anything like that. A lot of people suggested that the PlayStation VR, Sony would be smart to integrate the VR technology into the system already. Because right now, what I have for the PlayStation VR is, I have like this little control box.
Goal! They're on fire!
There's like a little control box with a long wire. The speculation is that the next iteration of the PlayStation VR is going to be wireless, although there are many hurdles to overcome with that because the lag issues, the interference issues, stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm just looking at this now. Obviously, like I said, this is all fan made. Excuse me, there's nothing confirmed, but this does look like, some of the things we talked about. If they integrated the 2 cameras, the screen on the controller, all this stuff to make it wireless, this does seem like more of like a pipe dream of what the PlayStation 5 is going to look like, but it's also confirming a lot of things they have confirmed yet.
And I like the design, this concept design. That's what I meant to say earlier. I like this better than the dev kit design. I have a fear of all those vents in the middle. Although I do like that V design.
I like the V over the concept.
I like the deep V design. I'm just concerned of the placement of all the vents. because all the vents are right there in the middle and on the outside. So I don't really think how that helps with cooling. I like the concept design because we have more, instead of a lay down V, we have more of a vertical V. It's just not as deep, and the vents are all on the outside,
All right, let's
blowing it away. And like I said, if the controller is legit, I like it.
All right, I don't want to cut you off there, but Alex, I kind of cut you off on your impressions. What do you think about everything you've seen?
Well, I can't seem to find this fan-made one. I obviously the dev kit one that you're talking about, but I don't see the fan-made one.
You got to click
It's the link that's directly underneath it.
Click the one that says PlayStation 5 Introduction. That's a separate link.
Okay, well, because they talk about on IGN when they're talking about the dev kit, they say that there's no indication that this is. I mean, they give reasons why the dev kit is designed the way it is. Because Yield was talking about how the fans are all they're blowing essentially hot air into each other by having themselves in the middle.
Well, if you look at the picture on IGN of the dev kits, and this is for you too, Yield. If you look to the right of the TV, that is actually the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 dev kits.
Well, what I was going to say is that they talk about in the article how there's no indication that this design for this dev kit will be anything similar to the release of the PlayStation 5.
Well, I mean, as you can see in the pictures, I mean, obviously the 3 and the 4 dev kits look nothing like what they released. So, but I happen to like the way this dev kit looks.
Yeah, I'm not.
But
I said, I'm my only opposition or thing to it is the vents in the middle.
Right.
Unless it was more of that's the inlet, and then the ones on the outside are the outlet. I could kind of be okay with that, but I'm still afraid of it because you're still going to draw the heat in as it's rising out of the console.
I mean, I definitely like the look. I mean, the dev kit itself looks like a spaceship. It almost looks like a Star Trek spaceship. So it looks kind of big and bulky. The fan-made one, the fan-made 5, is definitely very sleek, and I like it. It also, it kind of reminds me of, say, a TiVo or something like that you would hook up to your TV and, you would, have it record stuff. It's not, this big boxy thing. It's, got round edges. I don't know. I like it. It looks very sleek. I don't like the controller with the video screen in the middle. I don't like that. Not that they have not that the touch screen or the touchpad on the front of the 4 DualShock is good. Like Yield said, it was kind of hasn't been used very well by Sony. I do like that they have a share button up the left at the top left of the PS4 controller. So I hope that returns. But as far as that controller, I mean, yeah, it looks very similar. I like that, but the video screen, I don't want a video screen in the middle of my controller, especially something that emits light or some kind of picture that can distract me, say if I'm playing the console on the television. I also, to be honest, don't want to play or have to look at things on a screen that small. I want a bigger screen to look at things, and I don't want, like I said, I don't want anything to distract me from what I'm doing if I'm playing on the TV. And I feel like that's going to emit some light, whereas on the DualShock 4 you have the light. You have the little light on the back of the, or at least on the top of the controller, but that's not as big of a distraction as something that would be on the very front of the.
Because you were talking about the share button. If you look in the concept video, right above where the PlayStation button is between the two analog sticks, it looks like when he made the controller, he moved the options and the share button down, turned them to the side, and then right above the. Right by
by the PS
button.
Home button.
Well, yeah, because we're used to having the original DualShock. We had the start the select button down towards the middle more, whereas
right.
I did notice that where the buttons were taken from the top like they are on the PlayStation 4 controller and moved down. I mean, I would like that just as long as there's a button there.
I understand your concern for the video screen. The only reason that I like it is for the possibilities of, and let's say a game like Uncharted or something along that lines where you could use the video screen on your controller as
an inventory system.
Or let's say the Vita did for Golden Abyss, where you did the rubbings and you had to clean off artifacts to see what they were. Stuff like that. Stuff in little interactive stuff that you can do on a small touchscreen that you can't do on a big screen, something like that would work. I would say it would work for an interactive mini map, but then you got to look down to look back up again. And depending on what kind of game you're playing, that could kill the pacing.
All right. Well, we've talked because of the concept video and the look of the dev kit about some features that we may or may not want. Is there anything else you guys want, like, can think off the top of your head that you don't want returning from the PlayStation 4, or that you do want coming to the PlayStation 5?
Well, I will say, Tricky, before Yield can answer that, it does look that little light sensor on the back of the DualShock 4 is returning, at least in this fan-made controller. Like, it looks like that returns at the top of the controller.
Well, we also seen that in the patent. I think that was last week we were talking about. They actually have a patent of what the DualShock 5 is going to look like, and that was part of the patent where the light bar was there. But also on that patent was the touchscreen coming back. But according to this concept video, that the touchscreen is being replaced by the video screen. So there's a lot of similarities. I mean, if you look in last week's agenda, you can kind of like look for that link. You can see the patent for it, and you can basically see what they're saying the DualShock 5 is going to look like. Yield, you were saying?
I don't really have an issue with the 4. I mean, it hasn't burned out like my 3s have. So as long as they make them well and they last, I don't really have a problem. I like the more USB ports. I mean, I think 4 might be too many, but I don't really know if you could go with 3. I don't know if you could go with an odd number. So I'm fine with that. I like what I see. I'll put it that way.
So is there anything on the PlayStation? Is there anything you want on the PlayStation 5 that you did not get on the PlayStation 4?
Nah, not as of right now. I don't think so.
Okay, and anything on the 4 that you do not want on the 5?
No, it's all hard. It's all a better integrated PlayStation Network.
Okay, Alex, let's move on to you. Anything that the 4 doesn't have that you want to see on the 5?
Like Yield, I don't have many complaints. I will say that with that the fan-made PS5, I do prefer the more matte texture, the more matte finish to the consoles themselves, because I feel like the very glossy, slick look to it would show wear and tear and age more, and like that kind of thing like matters to me. So I like the more matte finish of the PS4, and we also saw that on the PS3, because remember the original PS3, the fat PS3 was a very glossy finish to it, and I preferred. You know what I'm talking about. You look confused.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I like the more matte finish to a console, which is the only thing that I would say that the controllers and the console itself and the fan-made one had a more glossy finish, and I would prefer a more matte finish to that. I guess my thing is I want to see, if you're going to include functionality into the controller in particular, use it. We've already talked about touchpad, but if you're going to use that video screen, or you're going to include that into the controller, I could easily see that being something that they put in there for show and then never use it, or use it for like 1 or 2 games. Because that's what Sony does. I mean, they will come out with all these new things, these new features and everything like this. The only thing you can count on, though, is that they'll support the PS5 console or the PlayStation 4 console or their home console, and everything else will just kind of be like a bell and whistle that isn't really given that much support.
Yeah, because they don't want to force developers to have to use it, but then you've always got these 1 or 2 developers that's like, man, I can use this in my game, and they do, and then other people will just use it as a gimmick, and it doesn't really work in their game, and everybody else goes, well, I don't have to, so why? And then they don't.
But if you're going to include a video screen in there, use it, make it like functional. Don't just have it be like a light emitter or something that's going to be like, hey, you're playing Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Hope you're enjoying it. Just make it useful. As far I don't really know as far as hardware what more we could ask for. I mean, the PlayStation 4 it only has 2 USB ports in the front, and they're solving that with the 5. We would assume by talking about having 4 slots, correct?
looks
Right.
that way. At
Yeah,
least.
which I mean, you would figure for me and Yield would factor more in more like couch co-op or something like that, like more going back to the old school of like where you had like the GameCube or the N64, where you had 4 slots for controllers or whatever you wanted. Has any PlayStation console ever had more than 2?
The original PlayStation 3 started off with 4, but then when they did away with backwards compatibility and came out with the second iteration, they dropped down to 2.
Because even
And the
going back to the
PlayStation-
PS1 and PS2, there were only 2 controller slots, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and the PlayStation 4 Pro actually has 3, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. And generally, that was, in my opinion, that was designed because you have to plug the PlayStation VR into a USB slot. So they just put a USB slot on the back of it so you can plug the VR in. But there is a third one on the 4 Pro.
But would somebody be able to plug in, say, if you had a friend over and each one of you had your own VR headset?
Yeah,
Could you plug
could
it
use
into
it for that too.
2 of the sockets in the front of the PS5, and each of you use your own VR headset?
Yeah, you can. All the USBs work exactly the same. My thought is they just put it in the back because it's just a way to hide that one wire that has to be plugged in for the VR.
So this would be yet another change that they would potentially make to foster or facilitate VR use.
That's assuming that. I mean, they've already said that the PlayStation VR will work with the PlayStation 5, but we're also anticipating that there's going to be a new VR 2.
Well, I'm sure there will be. I mean, this is Sony after all.
I mean, my opinion is you're probably not going to see the VR 2 until
Second year.
2022,
Yeah.
2022, 2023, because if the VR, because the rumor is the PlayStation 5 is going to cost anywhere between $400 and $500. The VR 2, you have to assume, is probably going to cost $400 as well, if they can somehow break it down to $300. But asking people to spend $800 is going back to the old Sony of, you'll get a second job to buy all our shit. So they would be smart to put the PlayStation 5 on the market, wait a year or 2, maybe 3, then put the VR 2 on the market. So you spread out the cost.
But will the PlayStation VR, when PS5 comes out, would you be able to plug in the current iteration of PSVR and play it on that?
Yes. So in answer to your question, do I think it's trying to free up USB slots? Yes. But again, speculating on the concept video, if they do wind up putting cameras, which I now that I think about it, it's probably not a smart idea because they're probably going to want to sell the PlayStation camera separate, more money making thing. But if they are going to a wireless VR setup, then the 4 USB slots might just be overkill.
What else do you think they would use the USB slots for besides, like, say, external storage or controllers?
Well, just recently, I started using an external hard drive on my PlayStation in my studio, and I come to find out because I have my SCUF controller, which is linked to my PlayStation 4 in my living room. In order for me to use it on the studio, I have to plug it in and have it wired. I also have the headset, my Astro headset plugged in, and then the external drive. Well, if I'm not using the SCUF controller, I had the other 2 plugged in. Come to find out, I said, you know what, let me just go use a USB hub to plug all the things in, and come to find out, I cannot use the external hard drive to play my games off of through the hub. It has to be plugged directly into the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4. So I'm assuming that they're just trying to make sure there's enough slots so you can plug things directly into. Because I'm going to also assume that you couldn't put the VR into a hub as well. Like that has to be connected directly. So my idea is that if they're putting 4 USB spots, it's probably just to make sure that you can plug things directly into it and not have to get a hub and run into that problem. Because right now, I can't play a game in my studio wearing the headset, playing the game, and using my SCUF controller at the same time, unless I unplug the PlayStation VR.
I mean,
So.
going kind of back to our discussion, I've never really had an issue with the PlayStation controllers. I've always liked the DualShock controllers, and yeah, like I said, just if you're gonna put functionality in there, make sure you use it and you get the most out of it. And as far as they always, Sony has good quality studios, so software is gonna be there. As far as like the hardware, I mean, Yield says like online integration. I don't. Yes, it could be better, and I guess, yes, we could all benefit from that, but as far as playing online, I can already do what I want to do on the PlayStation 4 as far as, like, Crash Team Racing or Rocket League or whatever it may be. So, me being more of, like, a single-player person, I don't really know what I could want out of the network.
Well, I meant as in, like, the you know how when you go into the store, it's not user-friendly.
I think it has become more user-friendly.
It's getting better.
I know how to find what I want to find. And a lot of times it's just like, how do I find the PlayStation, Plus deals or like the free games, or how do I find the deals in the store? So for me, my experience with it, like I can find exactly what I want to find pretty quickly. The only thing I hate is having to type out on the damn DualShock when I go to the search function, like having to type that out on the controller. That's kind of annoying, but that's my own fault for just having a DualShock to type it on.
All right, let's close out the show, gentlemen.
Hold on, Tricky.
Uh-oh.
What do you want to see from the PlayStation 5? Because you're the more tech wizard. You're the tech savvy one of all of us. So, I mean, you're in on this discussion. What would you like to see from the PlayStation 5 that maybe is lacking in the PlayStation 4? Also, your shirt, it's a Firefly shirt, right? It's from The Last of Us.
I got this at E3?
You got this at a Firefly rally?
No, it was...
You bastard.
I think it was at E3. It was either E3 or PAX.
It was PAX.
And I'm sure you paid way too much for that.
No, I got it for free.
What were you...
Because I told them how much of a Last of Us fan I was.
Were you showing some skin, or were you such a brown noser that they gave you a free t-shirt?
I'm always showing skin.
Do we really want to go there? No, we don't.
I just want to see. Hold on a second. Yes. I want to see a system that can be powerful enough to do all the things that I want to be able to do, and because like right now, if I try to stream from the system, there's a little bit of a lag. I noticed that like games that I play, like Division 2, it bogs down the system. So when I hit the PlayStation button to go back into the menus, there's like a 10-second delay before I can actually start moving around the system. Some games I play, like Death Stranding, it makes my console sound like an aircraft carrier's taking off. Stuff like that. Like, I want to be able to play my system without taxing the system. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the PS4 doesn't work nearly as hard. The fans don't work nearly as hard as the old PS3 did.
That true. So make better improvements on that. But it just seems like certain games tax the system more. Like I could play Lego, and my system sounds perfectly fine. But if I play The Division or Death Stranding or God of War,
yeah, it sounds like an aircraft carrier. Yeah, mine does the same.
Yeah. So let's work on that. Let's make sure that's not a thing. If my console has to look like that dev kit to provide more airflow, I'm for it. Like I said, that dev kit, I don't have a problem with it. I kind of see what Yield was saying about the airflow, but I think that could be a good thing. I mean, the last thing Sony would want is a Red Ring of Death situation.
Well, that's why I said, as long as it's not turning around and sucking back in the same dust or heat that it's trying to blow back out because everything's confined, I'm okay with it. Because, like we both agreed upon, our PlayStations, some games sound like aircraft carriers.
I mean, definitely redo the PlayStation Store, make that a little bit more user-friendly. And the other thing is...
Well, hold on. Do you guys remember when people would buy, like, cooling devices and like extra fans to put on their gaming consoles because they would overheat so much?
I have 3 of them myself.
I feel like those aren't as necessary though these days. Like I've never had an issue. Like my PlayStation 4 is out in the open. I've never had an issue with it overheating, and I play, for good stretches.
Well, it's not overheated, but it did sound like the fans are kicked on to overdrive.
Oh yeah, especially like when you play Uncharted 4. Woo!
Yeah. And then, obviously, like, keep the trophies, obviously, because if our trophies go away, I think we'd all cry, especially me. But yeah, I mean, just make a good console that, we don't have to worry about, and, it's going to work.
Yeah, you buy one console and that's it.
Well, not me. I have to buy like 5.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. You don't have to buy
Yeah.
another one because your system burn out.
See, the old adage is like they can make a Cadillac that will last you 50 years, but they don't because they can make the money in parts. Let's get away from that thinking and just make a good console. Take the time, make a good console. Hell, I don't even care if we wait until 2025 to get the new console.
Yeah, neither do I. I'm cool.
I mean, now with that being said, am I buying the PlayStation 5 day one?
Yes.
Absolutely. But right now, I was in a discussion with somebody. The jump from like Nintendo to the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, we always saw a big graphics
You're done with that.
jump. You're done with that.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at they're talking about the PlayStation 5 and the Scarlet. They're going to be able to run 8K, which is great. But unless you're a fucking millionaire, you're not buying an 8K television.
Well, that and your eye only registers 1080, so it's just going to look crisper. It's going to look brighter. You're going to have more things going on in the background. There's going to be more things your NPCs can do, and you're going to see more of the blades of grass and the leaves and all that stuff.
Right, and like when I'm playing Death Stranding, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be able to walk over a cliff and be able to see what I would just assume is like miles in the distance and see the snow on top of a mountaintop or something like that. That stuff's nice, but it really all boils down to the gameplay. I mean, Sony made a big change going from the 3 to the 4. They weren't as cocky. They were, they really focused on the games and, making sure good quality games came out.
So
stay with that.
What's selling you on the PS5 is the games and not the hardware, which will be compared to PCs.
Well, without the hardware, the games won't run.
But you're talking about gameplay. You were saying that, the snow on the mountains way off in the way
right.
is nice, but the gameplay is what matters. Hell, there were great games on the PS2 that didn't have like anywhere near the power of the modern PCs.
Okay, you're twisting my words there, sir.
But there is
point,
I'm making a good point though.
Without the power of the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, we won't be able to have those big open world games because the world won't feel as alive.
But
as,
you don't need you don't need an open world game to have good gameplay.
True.
Okay, the Horizon Zero Dawn.
But the people that do want, but in your just use one of your favorite games. If the PlayStation 5 can run Horizon Zero Dawn and make each town feel more alive because more people are walking around, more people are talking, more people are interacting, that's where the power and the technology comes into play. Where instead of being able to maybe only hold, say, 4 people in a town, they can have 100 people in that town and make that town feel more alive.
But no matter how alive a
comes into play.
town feels, that is an aspect of the game, yes. But that's not the core gameplay. And how much time do you sit around in a city in a video game looking around and being like, oh man, there's a lot of people here. This feels like a real experience now.
I do it a lot. I did it in Death Stranding. I did it in Horizon. I did it in Spider-Man. In Spider-Man, I literally sat on the corner for like a half an hour just listening to the people walk by, watch the traffic go by.
But it goes back to what I said in a Facebook chat. It's not going to be hardware that sells the PS5. It's going to be games. Games sell video game consoles and the specs sell a computer or a PC.
All right. So let's move on to this because
Hold on. I do want to say
oh my.
a few things like about as far as like, you know, the PlayStation 5 and what I want to see. I definitely want to see, like, obviously I want PlayStation 5 or PlayStation Plus to come back because I think it's a really good deal. I just re-upped during Black Friday. I love cloud saving. I love the deals on games and the PlayStation Plus free games we get every month. So continue with that. And I'm not really sure what they can do to improve it, other than just improving online for the PlayStation, you know, in general. But I definitely also want to see crossplay. I want to see crossplay become a bigger aspect of the PlayStation 5.
Why?
Because I want to be able to play with anybody, whether they're on a Nintendo or an Xbox. I want everyone to be able to play with each other, regardless of the console that they opt to purchase.
Fair enough. All right. Before we go into our housekeeping, I forgot that I put a question into our Facebook group for people to ask questions. I'm going to read every question, but some of these are just ridiculous. First question comes from Homework Gets Stuffed. Are you going to read Daryl's trophies on the show?
Yes.
Not normally. If any chance I have, I'm going to edit them out. But this week, I'm not going to edit it out because you did successfully fool me. CJ says, what games are you looking forward to getting into over the holiday break? Let's start with you.
Oh, jeez. So, I'm going to try to finish out Jedi Fallen Order. I think I'm going to try to dabble into some King's Quests. Maybe play some of the smaller games. Everyone's Gone to Rapture. Maybe some Journey. Really kind of dive into my backlog. Maybe finally get into Wolfenstein. Stuff like that.
All right. Alex?
You know, I've kind of purchased all the games that I plan to play through the holiday season. You know, Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon Shield. So, I mean, I've kind of already splurged on the games I wanted to buy. But I'm looking forward to, you know, all the holiday events for Pokemon Go. But I'm also going to keep my eyes on the PlayStation Network because there's going to be a lot of sales coming up for the holidays. You know, I checked during Black Friday to see what they had on sale. And,
did you pick up anything?
PlayStation Plus free games that come out in January. I'm going to keep my eyes open during the holiday season because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff on sale and a lot of stuff, you know, decently cheap. But as far as like what's coming out this year, I mean, there's not really a big game for the PlayStation 4 coming out, so I'm not really like, unless it's like some indie game on the network or, you know, a big sale on another game that I've been wanting to play, I don't really have a lot of plans as far as the PlayStation goes.
All right. He also said, hold a chair open for me for episode 413. I would love to join if all possible. CJ, you are always invited, sir. I don't even know why I'm going to read this on the show.
Well, then don't.
Daryl says, if your life depended on it, which part of your body would you put a spider into, and why is it your butt?
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Well, clearly because the spider would suffocate and die back there. And if you're going to poop it out, I mean, you might as well just go the quickest route.
Alex, I'm actually mad you gave that a legitimate answer.
Yeah, that's actually... Bravo. I'm gonna give you a
read
hand
it on
clap.
the show.
I know, but I'm mad that you actually gave it a legitimate answer.
I'm not. I am proud of you, sir.
Daryl goes on and says, at what point in the show will you read Daryl's trophy count? We already answered that.
Yeah, Yield was awesome.
Daryl then wants to know, can you guys just make kissing noises into the microphones for 30 seconds straight and then rate who's the better kisser? No, that's not happening.
It's not happening.
We'd have to do that in person, sir. We'd have to have a kissing contest in person.
Daryl then goes, how long has PG Spoilers been the flagship show of Proven Gamer?
Never.
Never.
Well, there was that one Tomb Raider episode, but by
Well,
golly,
yeah.
it didn't make it
If
to the
that
press.
one would have gotten released, woohoo!
But Daryl was not a part of
PG
that.
Spoilers would be totally different, and Daryl would not be a part of it. But anyway.
Daryl then goes on to say, when are you guys going to have a crossover with the Loot Bros podcast, all them hosts, and me with no breaks? We like our audience, so never.
Yeah, there you go. We don't associate with losers.
No breaks. What is this? Is this the endless set list on Guitar Hero?
Hashtag trophy war. Losers.
Hey, we ever get our trophies yet?
We have not.
Okay, just saying. I don't
Also,
have mine. I don't
people-
have mine.
You can say they were salty about losing, but also we're not the best winners either. We're not very sportsmanlike because we're still bringing it up 3 years later.
Oh, we're going
'Cause I
to
want my damn trophies.
we're going to bring it up 20 years later. I would like to have one because, doggone it, I put in a lot of effort into that.
I don't think you actually won a trophy, did you?
No, because you chumped out the platinums to beat me and Alex by like 2.
I wanted to win.
I technically had the most platinums because I didn't double up any games.
All right. Homer then says, when is the next PG Gamer Night with the fans of the podcast? I'd love to schedule that. The problem is that the three of our schedules only really line up on the weekends, and that's when we record. But I would love to have a Gamer Night, set them up for Yield or Alex or myself to show up on any particular night. We could definitely look forward to doing stuff like that.
Rocket League! I got Alex.
And then the last question comes from Homer, says, which fan is your favorite to interact with? Hear from, shoot, I already know the answer. It's Homer Gets Stuffed.
What?
Alex, I'll let you go. Who's your favorite fan to interact from?
This is gonna be taking the easy way out, but I don't really have like a favorite. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't really have a favorite. Like, I enjoy interacting with everyone who contributes regularly, like, for different reasons. Like, everyone, like, just like we, each of us, bring our own personality to the show. Like, I think everyone outside of the show brings their own personality to, like, their own contributions to the PG community. So, I mean, like, I always enjoyed, talking to Sid and talking about trophies with Sid. And I always like, talking to CJ and, talking to Daryl and talking to, really just, I don't know. Like, I can't really think of anyone who I would say, yeah, that's my favorite person to talk to. Like, I just enjoy talking to everybody. Because, like, everybody, like, brings their own expertise to the community and, like, strengthens the community through, their chatter.
All right, Yield?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, when Daryl stays on point and doesn't get all his goofy, spidery kisses stuff, when he stays on point, he's
good.
He's good. It's enjoyable. He brings different aspects to a discussion to where you're like, well, hey, I didn't think about that, without straight out going, oh no, you're wrong, troll, like some people do. And the same with CJ, he brings a different aspect from being on his side of the world.
I mean, like, Daryl's really fun to podcast with. Steven's really fun to podcast with. Andy is too.
When he shows up.
You've also got JT. Who doesn't love JT and the banter that he tosses in there and how much shit he gives Tricky? Like, and like, there's always Donnie. Donnie, comes around every once in a while, but he's fun to always podcast with. And
yeah,
he
did.
The back and forth between he and Tricky, the secret marriage, when they went and eloped a few years ago, like, that never gets old, and it's always red hot, no matter how long it's been since they talked.
It was turned into every single episode me and him were fighting.
Every single episode.
All right, and my answer is kind of a sappy answer. I agree with everything. No, I mean, I agree with everything that Alex and Yield just said, but actually my favorite fan to talk to and interact with is somebody new, like somebody that finally has reached out, and said, hey, listen to the show. The first time interactions with CJ, Sid, the first time a fan comes up to us and says, hey, listen, I like your show, or hey, your show's shit. Either way, it's always fun to talk to that new person to get that interaction from. I mean, that's why we do this. I mean, like, I was recently on, and not to plug myself, but I was recently on episode 30 of the Push to Plat podcast
Shameless
with
plug.
CJ.
Oh,
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And he was asking me questions, and it was just one of those times where I just relaxed. I didn't have an agenda in front of me. I didn't have like an outline. I just sat there and talked, and it's amazing. Like
that's how Yield and I do every show. You ought to try it.
it's amazing.
I wish I could on a weekly basis, but we get people that don't watch videos until we're actually recording.
Yeah, but see, you got a live, quote unquote, a live reaction to the video, not a predetermined one. See, that's the best stuff. We're not scripted. We're just letting it hang out there.
Yeah, But you're not the one that has to go in and edit out 3 minutes of silence while somebody watches a video.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, I was directing that towards Yield.
Hey, I try not to necessarily do that. I try to just fake my way through it.
Yeah, fake it until you make it.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
and
if-
like
and-
I also
and-
want to make
and
very
hey,
clear that
I would like to say, if somebody would have said, hey, there's a video, watch this before we record, I generally do try to watch that, so that way it keeps the show flowing, and it's not like I haven't watched it yet.
Really?
Which is what I did in the beginning.
You really want to go down that path with me right now, sir?
Why, did you put it in the Facebook group? Because I haven't checked it in a few days.
I put 4 links in the Facebook chat today.
Today! I ain't checked today! I've been watching football!
How do you not check like at halftime?
Because I'm checking my fantasy team at halftime!
Oh, you are so fired.
What does this make? Like 10? I'm catching up to Donnie now.
Did you see what I named last week's episode?
No, I didn't.
Fired and rehired.
Fired and rehired. Did I get
All right.
fired again and I wasn't around to hear it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
also I want to
close
make
out
it clear that just because if we didn't mention someone who regularly contributes, like that doesn't mean we don't value contribution or we don't enjoy speaking
absolutely.
with you.
Oh, absolutely.
There are just so many people that we'd be on here for 45 minutes to an hour talking about everybody.
All right, speaking of 40 minutes to an hour, hopefully our segment on the State of Play doesn't last that long. Let's close out the show with some housekeeping.
Let's clean this shit up.
Oh, no. You took a week off. You have a bunch of energy. Do it right.
Let's clean this shit up.
I kind of like
All
that.
right.
Had a little
Now,
ring to it.
I got a lot of criticism when I did the housekeeping last week. Some people said I did it too fast. And then I made the remark that I was trying to channel my inner Micro Machines guy, and nobody got the reference.
Nobody got the Micro Machine reference?
Nobody got the reference.
Bunch of kids.
By the way, Micro Machines is coming back, by the way.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Oh, are they going to be better than they were before? I mean, they were pretty cool before, but...
I don't know. I just hope they get that same guy. Alright, for anybody that didn't get the reference, anytime you watch a Micro Machines commercial, the guy spoke at like 10 times the speed.
Yeah.
That was the joke. Alright, so ProvingGamer.com is looking for some writers, podcasters, video editors, news reports, and generalized help with the site. If you're interested in applying, go to ProvingGamer.com, click on the Help Wanted tab, and fill out the application, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. While you're there, be sure to check out all of our articles and all of our videos. Speaking of our videos, they can be found on YouTube by doing a search for Official Proving Gamer. You can also catch me streaming at twitch.tv/Proving Gamer. If you want to get a hold of us, there are several ways to get a hold of us. The first one is our phone number. Yield.
330-PROVEN9. 330-776-8369.
Alex, what's the email?
TreviOrs@ProvenGamer.com.
It's the Troy Memorial email.
Well, that's
TreviOrs@ProvenGamer.com.
usually you say that. You say that it's the Troy Memorial email.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can get a hold of us on Twitter. You can contact the site at Proving Gamer, contact the show at Trophy Yours, contact me at Tricky Mick, contact Alex at Saunders Rex, and contact Yield at Yield to No One. Although I gotta be fair to say, I think Yield is the only one that's actually active on Twitter.
I am. But that's okay. I like Twitter.
He doesn't check Facebook, but
No.
he checks Twitter.
Yeah, I check Twitter, yeah. But I haven't checked
So
it
maybe-
today. I check
maybe-
it through the week because I check it at break.
So maybe when I send you the videos during the week, I'll send it to you on Twitter.
That's fine. I'll get the notification and I'll check it. That'll work.
If you listen to this podcast, we greatly appreciate it. Be sure to listen to our other podcasts, PG Spoilers and Game Stuff. All the podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, for only iTunes, Stitcher, your various podcast applications on your smart devices, Google Play, Pandora, and you can listen to Trophy Horse and Game Stuff on iHeartRadio and Spotify. And I didn't tell you gentlemen this. We have a new podcast location that we are going to. It is fairly new. A lot of people don't know about it.
Santa
If you
Claus
are
Santa Claus radio?
No.
Oh.
If you happen to use a Deezer, we are now on Deezer along with Game Stuff.
Do we look like Buddy Holly?
Not Weezer. Deezer.
Oh!
Deezer.
Deezer. Oh, okay. I'm glad you got the
But-
reference though.
Well, I sing that song in Rock Band, which you don't play.
I
To be
took
fair, it's a good
hiatus.
reference because it is sweater weather outside. for the chili.
Oh!
Ooh. You know, actually, I think Weezer's actually a shitty band. Just so we're clear here.
They got some hits.
Yeah, I like their hits. I'm not like a huge fan, but I do like their radio stuff.
But they're mostly misses. Oh, okay. PlayStation 4 communities. There's one for the site, Proven Gamer. There's one for the show called T-Dubs Brothel. Because, oh, fuck it. Shuhei won't let us say
There you go.
You know what? It doesn't sound right to say Jim Ryan won't let us do it. And Guild has a group that he tends to forget about, the Platinum Guild.
I didn't forget about it. I did shout-outs a couple weeks ago. They were just like 2 months late. If I didn't forget... well, I did throughout the weeks, but...
Alright, so Alex, tell us about Humble Bundle.
Humble Bundle is a charity initiative that every month bundles together digital media, mostly computer games, PC games, as well as books, all this kind of different stuff, and they sell them at a reduced price. Essentially, you are naming your price for a bundle. It's tiered, so if you bid the lowest, you're not going to get everything. Whereas if you spend more money, like $10 to $20, you'll probably get more out of that bundle. And, it goes to charity, so the more money you can give, definitely the better. But definitely go to humblebundle.com to check and to see what they are offering this month, especially during this time of giving. And you can also sign up for their electronic newsletter by going to the bottom of their homepage, humblebundle.com. There's .com or .org?
.com.
Okay. I thought so. But yeah, see what the bundles they put together every month and help out some charity while getting some really awesome games in the process. I believe it's mostly like Steam game codes, though, right?
Yes, actually, there is a very Sonic Steam bundle going on right now. For $1, uno dinero, on Humble Bundle, you can get Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle DLC, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic CD, Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1, and Sonic Adventure DX. If you pay an average of $6.49. You can get all that, plus Sonic Generations Collection, Sonic Lost World, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2, and Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. And for the low price of $10, you get all of that, plus Sonic Mania Encore DLC, and Sonic Forces. Did you catch the theme there, Yield?
Yeah, it's a Sonic theme.
There are also other bundles. There's the Humble Choice. There's the music and sound effects. The Jingle Jam 2019, which is a personal favorite of Kalai. For $5, you get a shout out on somebody's stream. Apparently. You get Call of Duty Modern Warfare animated colon card. Okay. And for $30, you get a shitload of games. Apparently, they are giving away one game every day. So far, as of this recording on Sunday, you're going to get Kingdom New Worlds, Bastion, Rapture Rejects, Invisible Ink, Red Orchestra 2, Crusader Kings 2, Dreadlands, Clatter, Chivalry, Medieval Warfare, Animal Super Squad, Balance a Lot, Guilty Gear, 2 Point Hospital Jingle Jams, 2 Point Hospital, Battle Void, Hero Defense, Miss Adventures of Laura Silva Chapter 1, Drink More Gulp Juice Jingle Jam.
Yeah.
Company of Heroes, Mustache Amigos, Stories, The Path to Destinies, Partial Control, Megamorph, Omen Sight, Border Force, and Rebound Dodgeball Evolved. And there's still 12 games to be announced. There you go. Probably shouldn't have done that one, but hey, what the heck? It's the holidays. We did Humble Bundle. Yield, tell us about Extra Life.
So if you would, you go to extra-life.org and you can sign up to play video games for 25 hours. This year's event took place on November 2nd. So we are still awaiting the end of the year because you can still sign up and you can still earn for this year's total, which we are over 13 million earned. But what you do is you go there, you sign up, You play by yourself. You can join a team. Proven Gamer has a team. We'd love to have you. Or you can create your own team. And you go and you collect monies from friends, family members, total strangers, whatever. And you pick a Children's Miracle Network hospital of your choice, and 100% of those monies goes to that Children's Miracle Network hospital of your choice. And what you get to do is you get to play video games or board games or whatever kind of games for that 24 or 25 hours if it's on the daylight savings time. So it's a win-win. You get to play games and you get to help sick kids. So.
All right, and I'm going to do a shameless plug right now.
Shameless plug?
Well, it's a plug that I really don't want to say, but I'm kind of obligated to say. A coworker has convinced me that if I meet my goal on Extra Life, that I have to shave my beard off and keep it off for a period of 1 year. So please help me reach my goal. And neither one of you guys is going to say anything.
Yes, they
Tricky
should.
without a beard is unnatural, and I don't like it.
I don't know. I just trimmed my goatee last week. It was pretty long.
Well, you guys can see my beard now. What do you guys think?
I don't know. It looks fine to me.
Hey, it could do with some trimming. I'll be honest.
I think all your hair moved from north to south.
How's that look?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I could go for it to be shortened up. Maybe not all the
Yeah,
way gone.
It has to be all the way gone, and I have to keep it off for a period of 1 year. Not happy with it. But, I mean, it's
for the
unenthusiastic.
kids.
Yeah, as unenthusiastic as I sound, I'd be happy to reach my goal. I just would not be happy about shaving off my beard. But it is for the kids, so that's what I'll do. All right. The other one is our Patreon. Patreon.com/Proven Gamer. We have different tiers. I'm trying to get a mobile app out for everybody. It'd be better for us, better for you guys. You get all the shows directly on your app. You don't have to worry about your favorite devices and all that other stuff. And Amazon. If you would each and every time you shop on Amazon, stop by Proven Gamer first. Click on any Amazon link and continue with your normal shopping. It doesn't cost you anything extra and does help out the site tremendously. With that being said, let's move on to our shout-outs. Alex.
Give a shout out to the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Whores. That is the listeners. Thank you all very much for continuing to support the show and push it to even greater heights. Without you all, we wouldn't be on Spotify, on Pandora, we wouldn't be on iHeartRadio. So thank you all very much for sharing some of your time every week and just listening to us talk like assholes on this show. We appreciate you all more than we can convey. And give a shout out to Yield and Tricky for recording with me. And I'm trying to think. Shout out to Old Man Winter for being a fucking dick. And a shout out to Homer Gets Stuffed, who had my back on Facebook, and a shout out to Yield again for having my back last week on the show.
Yeah.
And, last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome girlfriend Ashley. I love you, honey. And yeah, that'll be it for my shout outs.
Yield.
So I will give a shout out to Dirty Rat Bastards in the Bucknuts Fantasy Football League as they are going to cruise on to the next round of the playoffs. That's me, by the way.
That wouldn't happen if I was there.
It would. You wouldn't even have made the playoffs.
Yield, every time that I was in the football, I was the one that knocked you out of the playoffs.
No, you did, and I won it the one year. The second year you did because you had a good year that year, but the first year, no, you weren't even in it. You beat me.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the year you beat me. You're right. You beat me because Dak Prescott couldn't get 1 yard.
That's right, and I made it into the playoffs. They pulled him with 2 minutes to go. It was on the show. Anyway, so
Yes.
a shout out to me, Mr. Mustard, and Alex because they have upcoming birthdays. Because December birthdays rock.
Yep. Parents getting busy in March.
A shout out to
9 months, Tricky. Come on. All right,
No,
fine.
I
February too.
know that.
February
I'm
counts
just-
too.
Yeah.
No. My look was like, how the hell you did the math that quick?
because he's
Come on, Tricky.
smart.
You have a child. You've done this before.
A shout
Yes.
out to the Ohio State Buckeyes
Fuck them.
for winning the Big Ten title and going into
Fuck
the college
Homer, too.
football playoffs.
Fuck Homer.
I did that just for Homer, because to troll you.
I just heard a bunch of beeps. That's all I heard.
That's fine. You can beep us all you want. You can't hold us back. A shout out to Tricky and Alex for showing up and recording tonight. A shout out to the pimps and the madams of the whoredom. Thank you for downloading, listening, doing all that you do. And that'll do me for the week.
Shout out to the listeners. Shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to the Goddess. Shout out to the Rangers, who are currently kicking ass. This seems like it's a Stanley Cup performance night, not a Cincinnati Bagels night. Thank you
You're
very
not
much.
insulting me. I know they suck.
No, I'm just reminding you they.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't need a reminder. I watched them play today.
And yeah. So until next week, happy trophy hunting.
Later.
Bye.
Save your last words, then riddle me this. Save your last words. Save your last words, then riddle me this. Save your last words, then riddle me this. Save your last words, then riddle me this. Save your last words, then riddle me this.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.